person. Jackson native, contemporary Christian singer, songwriter, author, TV talk show host, award winner, and adjunct professor, Babbie Mason. Hi, Babbie.
Hello, Bart. It's good to see you, my friend. Good to be here live and in person.
I know. I was so excited. I knew you were going to be on the show, and I thought it was going to be Zoom, but here we are in person, and very excited to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's good to be home.
Yeah, Babbie's native of Jackson, and that's what I love. When you speak, when you preach, when you travel, you always talk about growing up in Jackson.
I do. That's my leading story. Yeah. It really is. I have lived in Georgia for more years than I lived in Jackson. So I live in Georgia, but Michigan and Jackson will always be home. I don't say that I'm a native of a suburb of Detroit. No, I am from Jackson, Michigan, and this is my birthplace, and I'm so proud of it.
Well, I'm glad that you celebrate that pride and talk about home as much as you do, including in your new book, which it really is the centerpiece of the whole book, where this story starts. Each one, reach one. And I'm really glad that you're here this week.
Thank you.
Because the events of the past weekend, I think, shine a light on some of the messaging that you have in your book. And this country has become really fractured and divided.
Yes. Well, the book is called Each One, Reach One, Everyday Ways You Can Shine God's Light. And the book really is about sharing our faith, not necessarily through a rote speech or through something that we learned in a class. No disrespect to that. I've done those courses and they've been helpful to me. But when it came time for me to share my faith with others, I often forgot the spiel. I forgot what to say. I couldn't get my words together. I stammered over my words, trying to remember the words that I learned in the course. And so oftentimes I opted not to share my faith because I was intimidated. And so I reached my 50th year of walking with the Lord just a few years ago, and I did a kind of an assessment of my faith walk. And I took a deeper look at my walk over the past 50 years of walking with the Lord, and it was revealed to me that I was laxed in that area of sharing my faith. And so I prayed a simple prayer, and I asked God to give me more opportunities to share my faith, to put the words in my mouth. And if He would do that, if the Lord would help me with that, I would open up my mouth and share my faith. And what began to happen is just nothing short of amazing. The Lord began to put me in situations and circumstances where I could practice kindness, where I could practice compassion, where I could practice generosity, where I could speak words of compassion into the lives of others. We're living in a season post-COVID where there are so many needs. People are hurting, people are broken. We're suffering from, food disparity and financial challenges. Families are fractured, and of course we're in an election year where, sometimes people's speech is more volatile, sometimes even violent, and of course the issues of the past weekend, where everything is very tense. Well, this is a season where we can practice kindness, where we can practice words of generosity and behavior of compassion. And I've started to do that, and it has opened up many opportunities for me to share my faith, and I share countless stories in the book of the outcome of that prayer.
Well, what was surprising to me was your admission that you were, I don't know if the right word is reborn, but reawakened as a Christian. And I thought, well, wait a minute, this is Babbie Mason. She grew up in a pastor's home and in the church. You were part of the church your whole life. Your job,
yes,
is missionary. So what was it that you felt you weren't doing enough of, or you weren't enough of a Christian so much later in life?
Yes. Well, as you stated, I come from a long line of preachers and pastors, but I realized that God didn't have grandchildren. I had to have my own relationship with God through His Son, Jesus Christ. And so growing up here in Jackson, right out of high school, I wanted to establish my own music career. I've been playing the piano for my father's church for almost 20 years, but I wanted to kind of work my way closer to Motown, work my way closer to Detroit, and establish an R&B career. So I started singing in bars and clubs around the state.
Smoky-filled joints.
Yeah. Back then, you could smoke in a,
Yeah.
you could actually sing in a quote smoke-filled room, and so I remember singing at the Holiday Inn, club and many clubs around town. But I would often feel conviction. I couldn't always feel like that was my perfect, audience. But I did it anyway, trying to just hope that I could strike up that music career while still going to church on Sunday morning, playing the piano for my father's church. And I just sensed this compromise in my heart. Well, I ended up a student at Spring Arbor University. And one day I sat down. It was an election year that year too. I have a little tread on me, but I got a lot of years left in me. But it was an election year, and I was watching some of the election campaign things on the television while I was sitting in the student snack bar as a student at Spring Arbor. And I had ordered a cup of soup, and the soup was served in a white styrofoam cup with a white plastic spoon. And it was really hot going down. It was in the fall of the year, shortly before an election. And I had a conversation with a friend who stopped by to talk with me, and I went back to my soup, but it had begun to grow lukewarm. And the oil in the soup began to kind of coagulate, sticking to the side of that white styrofoam cup, and the grease in the spoon rolled off that plastic spoon, and it was not very appetizing. But as I sat there, I had another epiphany that my life was like that lukewarm cup of soup. And the Lord just challenged me to not be compromising, because the Lord hates compromise. The Bible says He wants you to either be hot or cold, but never lukewarm. And so I decided that would be my day to get things right and to be on fire for the Lord.
Wow.
And that's been my story ever since.
Just like that.
Just like that in a matter of moments.
So the kindness, that's, we're being told, be nice, be nice. What's the difference about just being nice, going through life being nice, and showing actual kindness?
Well, being nice is a good place to start. Being nice, we're all taught to be nice. Being nice is being pleasant, polite, and cordial. And that's a good place to start. But kindness goes further than being nice. Kindness really is a superpower. Kindness, because kindness meets the needs of others with love, generosity, and compassion. Kindness is a fruit of the Spirit. The Bible tells us that the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I want to park on self-control, because you really can't, as we're seeing, a lot of people can't use self-control. And one of the reasons why is because it is a fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit generate from the heart of God. And so it's really the Lord that helps us to walk in self-control and to use kindness really to often defuse incidences that are heightened emotionally. And kindness shows us that we can actually be what we call the bigger person, instead of going low and jabbing with words, and which often hurt and even wound people.
Well, Babbie mentioned she's the daughter of preachers, in a long line of them. Reverend George Wade, who started Lily Mission Center, is Babbie's dad, and that park is dedicated to the family.
Yes.
Over by the church.
Yes.
Babbie's in town to sing, among other things. She'll be at some appearances and talking about her new book, but she'll be at a concert, a music festival, this Saturday at Keeley Park at the Unite Jackson Music Festival. And this is a first ever festival uniting artists with the community, fellowship, yard games, food trucks, for the whole family. And it's just $10. You can get tickets scanning here, and also right at the gate at Keeley Park this Saturday. The book, one of the things you talk about is where you are, every day you're finding a way to talk about the Lord. People feel self-conscious, uncomfortable not at ease in talking about and spreading Christianity, especially with a stranger.
Yes.
How do you maybe make that first step? You do it once, maybe the second time is going to be easier.
Yes. Well, people often think that kindness is something that only you have the power to do or somebody else has the power to do. But we all have the power to be kind. And usually it starts with a simple conversation or even a greeting or even a compliment. Because people love compliments. People love it when you recognize them or you see them. Not just look around them or ignore them, but to actually engage them. Look at them. Let's say, for example, I'm in the grocery store line. It happens a lot in the grocery store where I can find an opportunity to talk with someone and meet their need and share my faith. So let's say it happened one day. I was in the checkout line of my local grocery store. There was some music playing. I think it was Neil Diamond. He was singing Sweet Caroline. I'm a singer, and I promise you, I was not singing very loudly. I was just kind of humming to myself. But the guy in front of me says, he turns around and he says, "Hey, that sounds pretty good. You should consider being a professional singer." I said, "Well, I am. I do sing for a living." He says, "Well, sing something for me right now." Well, that's like saying sick him to a Rottweiler. I just eased my cart up a little closer to him and started to sing Amazing Grace. All of a sudden, I heard the music in the store turn completely off. The manager of the store came out of his little cubby hole and he stood right there at the end of the checkout lane. He closed his eyes, he lifted his head, he lifted his hands and began to worship right there at the foot of the checkout lane. Well, and I saw people began to kind of gather around and listen to the singing. Well, when I realized I was gathering a crowd, I turned it on. I turned it up like I was at my daddy's church, Lily Missionary Baptist Church in Jackson, Michigan, or like I was on stage at Carnegie Hall. I turned it up and began to use every vocal nuance and lick in my verses and my words. And the more people gathered, the more I kept singing. Well, I was finished with the song. There were some amens and some applause. And the gentleman thanked me for the song and he went on his way. But what happened after that is the miraculous thing. The young clerk said that Amazing Grace was her grandmother's favorite song. Now, I call that little response from someone a heart nudge. It's just that little nudge, that little opening of the door that lets you know this is a potential moment to speak to someone's need or to help them in their hurt.
Imagine the stories all of the people that were in the store that day have told since that happened, and that it's like the domino effect of what you did that day.
It is the domino effect. And so I said to her, she said, that's my grandmother's favorite song. I sensed that little door opening where I could just kind of walk in and speak to her about that. I said, "Really? Tell me more about your grandmother." You see, I just shared a little bit of concern. And she said, "Well, my grandmother's she said that her grandmother was at home and she was suffering from cancer." I empathized and I sympathized with her. We can all empathize and show some care for our fellow neighbor. She said, "My grandmother's she said she has good days and bad days." I said, "Do you mind if I pray for your grandmother?" And Bart, I have done this on many occasions where I've offered to pray for someone. Listen, no battery of scripture verses, no sermon, no Bible lesson, just simple compassion, care, and concern, a short, encouraging prayer. And she was so grateful. Well, after I finished with my groceries, I'm walking towards the exit when a lady came up to me and she said, "I saw you pray for the clerk. Will you pray for my family?"
Oh, wow.
Wow. I prayed for her family. I went to my car, unloading my car. Another lady said, "I saw you pray for those people inside. My husband just left me and my kids. He totally abandoned us. Will you pray for us?" So do you see how, as you say, it's like a ricochet. It's like a domino effect, and it impacts people. Listen, people are taking notes on you. People are taking notes on you, Bart. They see how kind and compassionate and caring and how beautifully you serve and how easy it is for you to talk to people and talk about your faith and open up your door and welcome people like me in to tell our story. And so it really is a big deal. It may look kind of nondescript, but it really is. Kindness really is, I call it a superpower.
Well, you lifted all those people up. You lifted me up,
Yes.
and I'm sure. Well, you probably were on cloud nine after all of that yourself.
And it happens. The book, it has many, many stories of how kindness has opened up the door. And when it's all over, you feel so elevated and you feel like you have connected. There's a term that I discovered. It's called a Kairos moment. Kairos, it's a Greek word, meaning it's an opportunity. It's like a divine moment, a divine appointment, some people may call it, where you sensed that God was in that moment and he was helping you meet the need of that person. And three things happen when those moments occur. I call it like a braid, like a threefold cord. The first thing is you, the person, you are so encouraged because you were able to encounter God. God used you to bless somebody. That's the first thing. The second thing is you got to help somebody. You changed the course of their day. You changed the course of their mind. You could even save their marriage or even help them consider that life is worth living. The third thing is you get to glorify God. And the book is written on Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, that says, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven."
Well, I recommend people seek out this book. It'll be available early August, but you can
pre-order it right now at Amazon, and it's called Each One Reach One, Babbie Mason. You can pre-order it, but it comes live on August the 6th, and you can pre-order it right now. It'll come to your doorstep the day that it goes live, and after that you can get it you can get it online at any bookstore, but you can certainly get it from Amazon, or you can get it from my website at babbie.com.
Awesome. And you can see Babbie this weekend on the Unity Festival on stage at Keeley Park. Saturday, come on by and you get a chance to meet Babbie and hear her and her great talent. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Bart. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it has been. Always great to see you.
Always good to see you too, my friend.
Jackson's own Babbie Mason.